Well, hello, everybody. This is Patty, and thank you for popping in. If you are catching this live, I appreciate it. I'm going to sort of see if anybody else comes on here in a minute and to see. But if you are on and you have any questions at all, or you have any input, or maybe you're going through the same thing, this video is basically to help educate people with empathic abilities, or if they have questions about if they're an empath, those kind of things, to see if you I can help you in any way. So I decided to do a 4-week or not a 4-week, but a 4-part series, because there's so much to empath. I just wouldn't know what to even start with, let alone abilities. So being an empath, I have almost probably every ability that there is of the 8 different empaths there are. And so I'm going to start with this in a minute, where we left off on 1. I had left off on the story about my brother's murder and how I had predicted that. Well, I had predicted that, a knowing of he was going to die, that kind of thing. But the couple of things I want to start off with, and we'll go over that. We'll go over a little bit of 1 and recap. But on this one, for those of you that are brand new coming in, this is going to be four parts, so 4 little videos. They're going to be about a half an hour long, hopefully, but they could be up to an hour long, whatever we need them to be. But this is for you. And what I want to touch on after I get a recap of what we did last week, I want to touch on the different types of abilities and what they mean. Also, I want to touch base of some of the abilities that I have, because I'm outside the bounds of an empath as well. So it's very interesting, because the word empath itself was actually a word created back around 1956. And there wasn't really an empath word. Back in the day, some of us were called witches. Some of us were just weird. Some of us were whatever. So shortly after, or actually that word came out a little bit before I was born. But a lot of the times they didn't know what to do with these abilities. Back then they were hush-hush. We didn't talk about them. They didn't talk about them. You were considered weird. Maybe you had a mental illness. Maybe the family was ashamed that maybe you had some of these abilities. And unfortunately, man has twisted abilities into very satanic, very negative forefront energy, and it's not. So don't get me wrong, it can be used for the negative and for the wrong things, but most empaths are of love and light and truth and God and a creation or anything like that. So when we hear the word empath, a lot of us are like, and you will know, I'll give you the first challenge today. So if you go up to somebody and you're wondering if they're an empath, just ask them, are you an empath? And if they don't even know what the word is, they're probably not an empath. And a lot of people believe that they're an empath when they're really not. They might just have some sensitivities to things or a little bit stronger intuition. But this is something that we all can build, and we all can actually open up these energies and chakras and vibrations and things like that. So with that said, we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk a little bit about audio, a little about visual in the next couple of videos. And then we're going to just give you some stories. I'd love to hear your stories. You can always send me your story, or if this resonates with you. On video 1, somebody was watching and they're like, wow, and I was a great storyteller. Oh, wow, I didn't know that. But that's okay. This is what it's all about, right? So, let's go back to 1. If you haven't watched the video on 1, then I would suggest to go back, because you might lose a little bit from this. But it's okay, you'll catch up. So it's pretty basic. So we discussed some of the things about hearing and audio, and I mainly told a couple of stories, one about Costco, how I was catching, or I shouldn't have said that, I worked for a company. Anyway, I was catching shoplifters left and right because of some of the audio I was getting. And I shared that story with them. And you can go back and listen to it. I think it's pretty interesting. And then also, too, I think I talked about a poltergeist that I had. We talked about an energy that followed me from another property, another home. And then also, too, then I began to talk about my brother's murder and about how I had known about that was going to happen before it ever did. And that's where we ended. Because the reason why I'm storytelling you some of these, maybe this has sort of happened to you, and this is something that you're afraid of. I know I have a girlfriend that can see, and she's afraid of that and shuts it down all the time. There's ways that we can open these up, and there's ways that we can close it down. And I'll give you some of those tools as well as we go along. So one of the things that I ended up with was, my brother was murdered. He didn't get to come home. And so shortly after that I was going to carry into this video here is that when I came home, because just to recap, he was murdered as a taxi cab driver. There was a taxi cab driver murdered the week before him. Then there was him that was murdered. And then the third week, this was in West Palm Beach, Florida, the third cab driver was actually carrying a gun. Somebody attacked him in his cab. He turned and shot him. Unfortunately, the man lost his life. Fortunately or unfortunately, if you're going to rob me, kind of thing. And it was a very long week with the police and everything down there. So when I came home, lo and behold, I was living with someone at that time, and yeah, sorry. Sometimes I get downloads, so I apologize. So I was living with someone at that time, and my abilities were still not growing, or they were still, it was like I was still questioning my thought process. I was still questioning things in my life. And I wasn't like, is this real, or am I going crazy, and that kind of stuff. And this was before my daughter's birth, when I told in the video 1 about, I actually went to a psychiatrist because I thought I was going nuts. Please watch video 1. And there's a link down below. So, but this here, when my brother was murdered, I came home and I had been in the process of writing my first book, which actually you can see behind me here. And I'd given up. I thought I was not going to write it anymore. I said, you know what? I don't want to do this. And so during that time, I thought, you know what? This might help my grief work. So I would get up every morning about 6 o'clock, and I would just start getting, now back then, this is 1994 when Bill was murdered. And so back then, all we had were just computers, big computers, or we wrote it by hand. We didn't really have laptops kind of thing. So I would sit at the kitchen table. I had my computer, and then I would type away. And then all of a sudden I would hear knocking in the wall. And I thought, mice, maybe something else. But it was a constant knock. It was just 3 knocks. And I was like, that's a weird mouse. Blew it off, nothing. Next morning I get up, same time, get my coffee, sit down, do everything, and in the wall again. And I'm like, okay, what am I hearing? That's not a place for a pipe. That's not a place for anything else like that. I've not heard this before. This is really strange. Well, about the 3rd day, I thought, is that Bill? Would he even be trying to reach out to me? Oh, but let me backtrack. So I got home. By the way, it was my brother. But the thing is, I got home from the airport that day, and the person that I was living with had cleaned the house and taken care of, made my bed, because they were there. We were living together. They made the bed and everything like that. But they're from another country, so they're very superstitious. And as we walked in the house, he was very terrified. And I said, what is wrong? He goes, I have to tell you, I have to tell you. And I said, what? He goes, Bill, he's here, he's here. And I'm like, why is Bill here? And he's like, the bed, the bed. And I'm like, what about the bed? And he's like, turn down, turn down. And I'm like, what do you mean turn down? I don't understand what you're saying. What do you mean turn down? I'm tired, I'm exhausted. It's been a stressful week, very emotional. And so he went and showed me how, you know, when you put your covers back, like if you're tired or a hotel, they put your covers back and it looks all nice and neat for you to get in and lay down. He said, he do like this, he do like this. And I was like, oh my goodness. He goes, I think he thinks you're tired. I think he thinks you're tired. So that was the first thing. Then the knocking came. Okay. So then after the knocking, okay, now I'm starting to think, okay, so about the third day when that knocking happened, I said, Bill, is that you? Are you alive? Are you still there? And then that afternoon, I had brought out some of his boxes that we had, and I was going to go through them. And I had stuff on the floor, and I thought, oh, I got to go use the restroom. And the same person is in the house somewhere. And so all of a sudden I hear screaming, and basically he's running and knocking on the bathroom door. Bill, Bill, Bill. And I'm like, what is wrong? The lights, they're going on and off. They're going on and off. I said, what are you doing? Are you in the boxes? Are you in his boxes? Because he got in a little trouble with the law for a little bit. And he said, are you in the boxes? And he said, I'm just looking. And I said, he doesn't want you in the boxes, so stop it. So long story short, I'm not the only one, but I did recognize Bill. I told him that I loved him. I told him that I'm glad that he was here. His energies have moved on. And then everything stopped. The knocking stopped. The lights coming on and off. Things moving in the house stopped. I'm getting goosebumps, so he must be nearby. But the thing is, the reason why I'm telling you this story is because it gives, it allows you to understand that we have a mind that goes beyond just what we can see. We cannot understand what is going on in our brain because we don't have that capacity. We're not God. We're not the divine. We're not a creator. We're not the universe. We just tap into what we can. I allow it. As an empath, I embrace it. So this is not only audio, but it is also visual. And so those are some of the things that we can see as an empath. So let me go through 8 of the types of empaths if you want to write them down. Now, an empath can be one of them. An empath can be all of them. And for me, I pretty much have them all. So the first one we have is a physical empath. So a physical empath is a person that has the ability. Let me go back let me go back to the word empath. Now, empath in the dictionary, if you look up in dictionary, you're not going to find similar, you're not going to find the same definition, because in the Merriam-Webster, they're going to say that an empath is a person who feels emotions of others, empathy of others. Okay, that is very different what a real empath is. But then in the Oxford Dictionary, you will hear or read a person with paranormal abilities to apprehend mental or emotional state of another. So that's what it would mean for. That's more of the meaning of what, when we talk about empaths, because people are like, well, I'm empathetic. That would be the Merriam-Webster, and that's not what we're talking about. What we're talking about is what the Oxford Dictionary calls an empath, is that we have the capability, the unseen paranormal capability we cannot explain, we just know we do, that we can actually feel and maybe sometimes have the mental or emotional capability of someone else. So that's what that is. So of another person. Okay. So please understand that. So when you're talking to somebody about being an empath, make sure that they understand about what an empath is, because you might get a totally different thing. If you talk to a Christian person, there are some that believe that there is empaths, and some believe, oh, that's just empathy. That's just empathy. Everybody has that. It's just like discernment. Oh, everybody has discernment. Well, you can, but most people don't understand the actual true meaning of discernment. So the first one is physical. So we do actually feel a physical illness or something physically going on. It's sort of like when somebody has, what do you call that? The husband feels the empathy pains of being pregnant kind of thing. It's sort of like that, but it's not really. You can actually feel it. For example, there are some, watch a lady who's passed on now, but she actually could physically feel, she would help the police in how someone died. Like if it was a throat, she could actually feel like something tightening up around her throat. And also too, if you could feel, some people may feel something ill in a certain spot. I had that happen with one of my ladies who's a medium. She goes, what's going on here? And I'm like, where? Here? She goes, something's going on there. It's not, something's going on. And I blew it off. I literally blew it off. Long story short, I have metaplasia. So I was like, how did she know that? So that is the ability of that empath. So that's a physical empath. Emotional empath, pretty much emotional. They're going to feel the emotions. And that's what a lot of people, I think that's the most key one that most empaths are, is the emotional. You can feel empathy, but you also can feel, if you really look into somebody's eyes, you can feel that deep emotion. There is something connecting you that is just above, deeper than that empathy kind of thing. You emotionally, we get very emotional also when we talk about something, or we actually can feel somebody's energy. We can actually become sad or happy, or we will sort of know what feeling they're feeling there. So that's the second one. Intuitive empath, that's me. Now the physical one, I could feel it occasionally, but that is not one of my strong ones. My strong one is intuitive, emotion, dream, plant, and earth. So an animal, definitely. But the intuitive is, everybody has intuitiveness. Anybody can be an intuitive empath. However, it's how connected you are to the divine, or who on the other side, that can actually grow that. Love, light, and truth can actually grow that. And a lot of people don't understand that. It's like, well, I want to be intuitive. Well, you are. It's just you have to learn how to tap into those energies. I was born with it, but I was born with an extreme intuitiveness already. So an old wisdom. I don't know how, don't ask me, but I was born with it. And as I said, in this last year or two, it has exploded, because I said I'm going to come out of the closet as an empath. That's what I am. That's who I am. That is how I am going to be. So you have to get over the fear, allow yourself to be that of what you were created to be, and allow yourself to grow in that, if that's a choice for you. The next one is a dream empath. A dream empath actually grows in understanding dreams, how to interpret dreams, and you may be able to interpret. And then there's empaths that can actually lucid dream and be able to control their dreams and be able to do those kind of things, and flying and all that kind of stuff. Mine is interpreting dreams. I can usually interpret somebody's dreams, especially if we've had a intuitive coaching session together, or one-on-one, and I can then ask about the dreams, and there's a lot of times solutions in dreams, or there's a lot of stuff that is hidden, stuff we don't want to see in dreams, that they're trying to come out and give you a message. So that's that. And then plant, I'm not quite sure about that. I love plants. Plants are all over. I don't know if you call that a green thumb or whatever, but the more It's like I can take a dead plant and grow it, but it's also, I'm in tune with the trees and the water and things like that. If I'm out in the trees, I feel their energies. I get their energies. I touch them. And some trees, if they're over low, and it's like a walkthrough, I will come out of there higher than a kite. That's how sensitive I am to the energies of plants and trees. Didn't used to be that way at all. Didn't used to be that way. But now my daughter thinks it's funny. And we have this, I live in Oregon, and we have this place called Enchanted Forest. And it's a little creepy because we're wet in certain areas of Portland. And there's all these trees that go over the walkways. And, it is very, very beautiful, very beautiful. But I come out of there higher than a kite for days. It's a great feeling. It's a euphoric feeling, let me tell you. Don't need drugs on that one. That's a natural high. So that's plant. Earth is a very sort of complicated one, which I don't know a lot of people that are earth empaths. I would love to know somebody. If you are an earth empath, let me know, because I would love to research and know more about that. And then an animal empath is the last one, where you actually connect. Now, I'm not talking about psychic, like you communicate, you can, but it's actually more of a connection with an animal. You can feel them, they can feel you. It's like a one-on-one. You look into their eyes, you just know that there is somebody in there, maybe if you believe incarnation, that actually knows you from someplace before or whatever. But it also, I know people, there are people that do say they speak to the animals. They know what the animal is saying. I can't poo-poo that. I don't know. I've never witnessed somebody that actually did that. Say if my horse was injured, or something came and told me that, oh, the horse is hurting here, and then a vet verified that it was. Never have had that. So I don't know about that too much. So, but those are the 8 types of empaths. So there's physical, emotional, intuitive, dream, plant, earth, and animal. So you could be all of them. You could be one of them, 2 of them, whatever. So you can determine which ones you might be, or if you actually have any of that in you. All right. So then we go, the thing about intuitiveness, I'm going to stay on that one because that one is so familiar to a lot of people, because you go with your gut feeling. We say go with your intuition, go with your gut feeling, and some people don't believe that. That's a bunch of hooey. Don't believe that. But there's the reason why intuition, either you believe it or you don't, because intuition is where your spirit is. So your spirit is the source of every being that you are. So if you're reincarnated, if you believe in reincarnation, that is a spirit that has actually died at another time and came and is in this body as a spirit, but now as a new person for a new lesson, if you believe in that. But it is still a spirit. Where does that spirit come from? It comes from divine, a creator, an unknown source that we call I am, we call the universe, we call an energy. It all just depends on your belief system. For me, I call my divine God, because that is what I have known all my life. Now, divine is energy. Divine is I am. We cannot define what God is because we've never seen what the divine is. But we know that he gives us this energy and power and all these abilities, and that is where the base starts from of your intuition. How do you know this, Patty? Well, because if you were to try to make a decision, and this is where another tool will come in for you. This is a tool for you to either, you can use for your intuition, or you can use for actually just everyday life. It will help you make a decision based on your spirit and not this thing here. Well, Patty, why can't I use my head? That's what it's there for, to think. Well, actually, no. It is, but it's actually a tool that your spirit uses. So let's give a hypothetical. Okay, so I want to go and take a trip to Japan. Okay, let's just use this. And I'm sitting there thinking, I'm going to take a trip to Japan. Okay, great. Not a problem. So I'm ready to go. But something inside me says, don't go. Don't go. But I poo-poo it and I don't understand it. But my head's saying, no, I'm going to Japan. I'm going to Japan. Okay. So the time comes where I'm supposed to go, when I'm supposed to go, and I keep hearing, don't go, or my intuition inside is saying, don't go, don't go, don't go. But I'm like going to go because that's the head. Then I choose to go, and maybe there's a plane crash, or maybe something stops me from going and there's a plane crash that I could have been on. When the intuition inside me is saying, I'm trying to stop you, I'm trying to protect you, do not go. But if I was intuitive and I listened to my spirit, then that is where it all starts from. It comes from truth. Spirit is truth. Spirit is love. It's protection. Spirit is saying, hey, this is going to happen, and I don't want you on that plane because it will kill you, so don't go. So then I stop and I don't go. I follow my intuition. Okay? But if I would have went, maybe I would have died. So here's the thing. Spirit speaks to your head, which is an earth source. I mean, we have to protect our head because it is part of spirit. We're all connected. It's all one thing. But what spirit is saying, if you know what is right, but then in your head is like, well, I'm going to do it anyway, and you go the opposite way, you're thinking with your head, you're thinking with your earth, and that's where we get into trouble. Because then our head speaks to our body, and our body either speaks what it's going to speak, going to do what it's going to do, or not do whatever it's going to do. So this is where the basis of being an empath is from. So you will hear a lot of empaths talk about God, spirit, universe, love, light, truth, all that kind of stuff. If you're hearing other than that, I would be questioning it. They're talking about Satan, the devil, destruction, things that are going to harm somebody. That's not what being an empath or a light worker really starts out to be. That's not where it really is. So the thing is that you really have to pay attention to that intuition of where it actually is coming from and where you're being guided. So it's really important, because especially if you have hearing, the abilities of hearing, this gets to be really confusing, because what I get asked a lot is, how do you know it's the divine talking to you and not somebody else, devil, wanting to hurt you or coach you or make you crazy or things like that? Remember, now I've dealt with spirits, I've dealt with poltergeists, I've dealt with negative entities, I've dealt with positive entities. I know the difference, but I also know the divine's voice. So like when I'm doing these intuitive readings, you'll see me do intuitive tarot, and I'll tell you about that in a different instance, because a lot of people say, well, tarot's of the devil, we'll go into that probably at the very end of these 4 videos, because it's very different. As an intuitive, it's different. At least my intuitive tarot is different. But the thing is that we have to be careful and mindful where we are actually hearing things from. Now, when you have something, you have to be advanced enough. Put it this way, if you're hearing something, if you have this ability of audio, when you hear something, and go back to video 1, because there is a whole little section I explain how this all happens when I went to the psychiatrist. And the thing is that when you hear, you have to be really careful and advanced to know if this is of good or if it's of evil. And if you believe in good and evil, some people don't believe in good and evil. They believe in love and fear, or, a positive and a negative, those kind of things. If it's from the negative, if it's from fear, if it's from the devil, whatever you believe in, you need to stay away from it. If that intuition is like, I don't know about this, then you listen to that. The other thing is, you have to get to know the divine and your creator as your source, because you need to know that voice. I can tell you the divine's voice from anybody else's voice. And I can tell you the devil's voice, or whoever he's sending through to try to trip me up, than to actually know what is of love and light. Now, here's a tool that you can use before I end this one, because I said I was going to try to keep them around 30, 45 minutes. So, and this is number 2. And I'll give one last story too, because I love telling stories, because it helps people to know that they're not going crazy either. So, shoot. I lost my train of thought. Divine, bring it back. Bring it back. Okay. So you just have to, okay, thank you. So the tool is, when you are trying to make a decision, whether with your intuition or not, there's a couple things that you can do. It might be different for everybody, but this is a tool somebody who had taught me, and I'll tell you 2 ways to do it, because it might be different for everybody. So when you're trying to make a decision, whether it be intuitive or not, so remember, head is earth and spirit is intuition and heart. That's where your heart, that's why they say protect your heart, because that's where spirit is. That's what the devil wants. That's what the negative wants. That's what shadow work is, and blah, 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 blah. So anyway, you want to really guard that heart. So you want to be thinking from the heart first, right? Intuition, divine, everything. Right, righteousness, truth, and love. Write those down. That's all there is. Righteousness, truth, and love. And you're saying, well, what righteousness? It's not ours, it's his. So whatever your belief is, like if you believe in the Bible, if you believe in the Torah, if you believe in the Quran, if you believe in whatever, there has to be a base of what you believe in. You have to, I don't know of a faith that doesn't have at least a basis of something. If you don't have it, email me and I'll share with you what mine is, and you can choose if you want to do that. I believe in God. So I believe there is a base, and it's love, truth, and light. And it's not our truth, it's God's truth. It is what God's truth is, which is everything right and good. And how you know that is you do everything in your life as if if everybody was watching, you'd still do that when you're alone. Integrity, character, morals, all good things, good, love, and light. Okay, so you're gonna need to make a decision, and you're like, I don't know which way to go. I just don't know which way to go. I don't know which way to go. Okay, so you can imagine, you close your eyes and imagine a fan. Like a Japanese fan. Well, I don't have one in the back, but I lived in Japan for years. As you probably can tell, it's like, why has she got so much Japanese stuff? But the really beautiful fans that like that. So you close your eyes and you imagine it closed. And then you ask the question, should I do this? Should I not? And this will get you more intuitive into yourself as well, and in tune with yourself as well. And maybe nothing will happen at first, but keep doing it over time, and maybe you'll see it happen. So for me, if I do that, I'll say, should I do this? And if the fan doesn't open, no. If the fan doesn't open because it's your intuition talking to your heart and your head, no, don't do it. Now, don't manifest it yourself. A lot of people say, well, I can make it open and close. That's not the point. The point is to get with your spirit so you can listen to your intuition, right? So if you can't imagine a fan, imagine like a kaleidoscope opening and closing. Opening and closing. Do you know what a kaleidoscope is? It's one of those things and you turn it and it looks all pretty kind of thing. So it's opening and closing. So you can also imagine that, or something opening and closing. Whatever it takes for you to open and close, something that open. Even if you want to imagine a door shut and then you say, okay, should I go? Open the door. Whatever it is for you, open it. Fans work because it's like, here's the thing. If the fan begins to open up just so slightly, that's a possibility, but you better maybe take it slow and think. Or if a fan opens up really far, then it's a go. If it opens up really far and shuts really fast, that's like a hell no kind of thing. So these are just some tools that you could use. If your kaleidoscope opens all the way up, it's a beautiful colors and everything, go for it. If the kaleidoscope goes down to dark, then it's something that you shouldn't be doing. This is your internal spirit trying to tell you and protect you and grow you and allow you to listen, because when you get to a certain level with your intuitiveness, it doesn't become about you anymore. It comes about actually the other person that you're supposed to be helping or giving a message to or touching their life to or anything like that. And let me share the last story with you now. This goes back to my brother being murdered, okay? So he was murdered in West Palm Beach in 1994. Now, go 3 years forward, because I'm actually bodybuilding during that time. I'm getting into it. I'm doing all that kind of stuff. And I'm getting active in the gym. I'm starting to manage gyms. And I'm on the computer now. Way back then, we had a thing, this dating thing called Love at AOL, right? Well, I didn't know what it was, but then we had Yahoo Chat. That was very new. So I thought, but I kept meeting people on Yahoo Chat from West Palm Beach, Florida. And the more I was on there, the more I would meet people. Now, this was about 2006. And my brother's case hadn't been solved. It hadn't been done. And we're still grieving as a family losing him. But around 1996, I kept meeting people, West Palm Beach, West Palm Beach, West Palm Beach, West Palm Beach. And I thought, okay, something's going on that the divine wants me to pay attention to West Palm Beach. What is it? Well, I had actually met one of the ladies on there, and we became chatty buddies. Her name is Beth. I don't know if she's still here. But long story short, I was telling her, man, I've been meeting people from West Palm Beach. I don't know if I should be going back. Maybe they've made some more ways on my brother's case. Maybe something's going on with his case. I don't know what to do. I have no idea. She goes, well, I live in West Palm Beach, so why don't you come visit? And I needed a break from the gym and training and managing. So I said, okay, I'm going to come for a week. So I went to West Palm Beach, and she actually showed me, she said, hey, let's go back at the airport. Now, I was a bodybuilder at that time, so I'm actually in pretty good shape. She is supposed to be a bodybuilder. I get off the airplane. You know how people tell you the way that they are, and they're really not that way? Well, this happened to be her. Very short, very stocky, but that was okay. I didn't care. I was more focused on my brother's murder, right, and what was going on. But she introduced me to her husband, and I didn't even I don't think I shook his hand. I don't even think I touched him. And as I walked by him, I knew he was really sick. Now, this is another, again, where I talked about the auras and the energies and everything, where I could walk by. I think I mentioned this in number 1, where I walk by somebody and I can feel their energies so much I could tell you what's going on. Well, this happened to be one of the first times that happened to me. I was like, what was that about? I didn't understand. I knew about my brother knocking. I knew about, the lights going on and off. I knew about the poltergeist and things. But see, it works little bits, because it doesn't want to scare you. It doesn't want to scare you. So I walked by him and I thought, ooh, I don't like that energy. So when we separated and she was driving, and I said, can I ask you a question? Is he okay? And she's like, yeah, he came because he thought I was cheating on him. So we drive to the area where my brother's murder and all that had happened. I'd been to in 1994. And I began to feel this dark, like if you could imagine dark clouds, like tornado clouds funneling in, all that kind of stuff coming in. I could just feel them coming over our Jeep. I could, as the closer we get to the police station, the closer we get to the area of where my brother lived, everything, it just came over. I could feel the negative force on me. I knew this was a really evil, bad force. And we were getting closer to the police station. I said, you need to get me out of here. You need to get me out of here. This is not why I'm here. This is not why I'm here. She goes, well, don't you want to go maybe talk to them? No, get me out of here. I can't breathe. Get me out of here. And it wasn't the PTSD of being there, because here's the story. So we were there for a week, and she would tell me, I was there for a week. She was telling me a few things about her family life and her husband, and she had mentioned that I couldn't shake the feeling that he was really, really ill. And while I was there, I got the sense he was terminally ill. So I asked her, how's he been feeling? She goes, well, he's been sleeping in his, I've got a guy outside with one of those blowers. I hope you guys can hear me okay. He's been sleeping in his recliner lately. He's been having some trouble again. He used to have, I can't remember what it was, kidney cancer or something like that. And I said, how long ago was that? And she goes, well, he's been remission for a long time now, and he's good. He's just having some back troubles. And I'm like, okay. But then that night I said, it's back. His cancer's back. So it was the day before I left. I said, could you please maybe just have your husband go to the doctor and get checked and really get that checked out? I said, she goes, why? And I said, I just have a feeling, just make sure. So I got home, she texted me, or she didn't text me because we didn't have phones back then. I think she messaged me and said my husband went to the doctor and got the test. And then the next message I got was, yes, his cancer's back, and it's so aggressive that he's only got a few months. So this was the beginning of me feeling energies of people. And then it became such a big thing. I was feeling energies of people that were getting ready to pass on. And that's when I thought I was the angel of death for the longest time. But the energies were so strong that I just didn't understand them. I didn't absorb them at the time. I didn't know what absorbing energies and all that kind of stuff was. But I just knew if I passed by somebody that I could feel their aura and their energies. And that's where I'm going to leave it today, because there's even more stories with that. But this is just to help you understand what an empath is and the different types of empaths, and also to see what your abilities might be and start questioning if you have abilities, or maybe you're just wondering about for somebody else. But I will tell you at the end of this, it is not you're crazy. It is not something that you're going loony bins over. If there is mental illness in somebody's family, like schizophrenia, then that is something to be tested for. But I've been tested for it. I don't have it. They told me to go see a psychic, go see somebody who deals with the paranormal. So I'm like, okay. Anyway, that's in video 1. So I hope this helped a little bit. I hope it gave you some stories. There's a little like wow moments. But too, this is my life as an empath. I will say it is not easy. It is not easy. And I'll tell you why in the next video, and the challenges you will face and the challenges that you have to decide that you're going to accept, because it affects not only you, it affects the people that you live with or the people that you are around. And I'll share a few stories about that as well. So this is something that it has to be a choice that you're ready to make, and know that it is a blessing or it is not a curse. Okay. All right. So we'll see you in part 3. And who knows, maybe we'll go to part 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. All depends on you. If you have any questions, if you have any comments, any feedback, what you'd like to know or answer for part 3, I would be glad to answer those for you. If you would like me to speak about something that maybe I haven't touched on, and please go ahead and comment or give me feedback on that. I will answer your comments. Usually I go through everything in the evenings because I do tarot readings. Also, Intuitive Tarot. Just got done with Aquarius. And those I do live every day. So if you haven't subscribed, I appreciate if you do subscribe and hit that bell. You'll know when I'm on live, either for readings or doing spiritual growth videos. This is a spiritual growth video. And if you go on my playlist, Spiritual Growth Videos, there's a whole bunch of different things that I talk about, not only empath, but this is just the start of what the divine is asking me to do to help somebody get over the fear, because he's all about love and truth and just light, and it's phenomenal. Oh, I'll tell you about that story. I've had the experience. Yes, I will talk to you soon. Next one, probably in the next couple of days. So hit that button, get subscribed, and know when I'm coming on when you hit that bell. Talk to you soon.